Have you ever thought about how plumbers keep civilization running? Get a bad one, and your living room turns into a failed biblical story. Water everywhere, and no one's walking on it. My name's Jonathan Kroll, and this is the Eye of the Needle podcast. Today's episode is a story of brotherhood, redemption, and business ethics that only come from lives changed by Jesus. I'm joined today by Josh and Brendan, co-owners of JP Plumbing here in Phoenix. This isn't just another, oh look, some plumbers can do a good job kind of a story. These guys have testimonies that are going to floor you and have business ethics that'll make you want them to come over and fix your house and then stay for dinner. We talk about how addiction can be replaced by purpose, how God is using their hands for holy work, and why every house call is a mission opportunity. Let's jump into the conversation now. All right, well, let's just start off just simple. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves? Josh, you can go first. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us what you want us to know.
Yeah, so my name is Josh Perry, and I am a owner of a plumbing company in the Valley with Brendan, JP Plumbing. I was born here in Arizona. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. I think dating back all the way from my great grandpa, we've all taken a step and tried to figure out life on our own accord, be our own entity or boss, right? So I think that's trickled down to me, and that's where I'm at today, is just a hard-working Christian native of the Valley.
Perfect.
Jeez.
What are you, Brendan?
My name is Brendan Smelser. I am definitely kind of following in the path of Josh. Not a ton of entrepreneurs in my family, but meeting Josh a ways back, have had the opportunity to be inspired by him and kind of grow into plumbing. And just watching his growth has given me a good opportunity to reinvent myself and kind of aspire to be more. I'm definitely a native to the Valley, 43 years, and a family man, hardworking, and just looking forward to doing bigger and better things.
Nice.
Yeah, our story together is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
If you really dive into it step by step, it's
okay.
it is pretty unique.
Well, I'm
in
excited
my
to get in,
opinion.
I'm excited to get into that. So let's start off with your testimony.
Yeah, for me, mine actually following Christianity through a church is a newer experience for me. I've done a lot of studying of world religions and spirituality in the past, and we've never really set point on one specific thing, but always felt like there was some grand design to what we are or where we are. But recently I've started attending church with my fiance and started serving in the church and have grown and flourished a lot because of it.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing and I appreciate it. Mm-hmm. So I wish I would have stepped into it earlier.
Okay.
So. Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, Brendan.
Yes, sir.
When did your parents move here, or they were renting a house because they were building a house? Is that what happened?
Oh, 100%.
How long ago was that?
Probably 25 years ago.
25 years ago, Brendan was actually at this location where we're doing the podcast now,
as a kid,
which is a church, skateboarding with the pastor, and he would so if you don't think God's real, he had a hold of Brendan back then, now we're here now, bettering ourselves. So it's all a crazy cycle, if you ask me.
Yeah, there's a lot of commonalities between you and I where we revert back to each other in some way, shape, or form, whether it be somebody we know, location, or opportunity.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
What about you, Josh?
My mother used to have to drag me to church when I was a kid, and I never got into it, right? And it was the church was renting out a kindercare, which is a daycare, right down the street from here, actually. And we would go there on Sundays, and it wasn't fun or nothing like that. And the same pastor, after I met the Lord, and from what he said, the Holy Spirit came into me, and he could see it because I was like dancing, not dancing, but like my foot was stomping during the beginning, the worship. I was singing, clapping, and he actually stopped and made a comment about it, and it just felt really real to me, like the difference in me, like a smile to a frown, right? Or a frown to a smile. But so my mom has put that opportunity in my life since I was a small child, and God has always had his hand on me. I just never took the time to understand it. So now I've really thought about, like, how do I tap into this and like live a life through God. And it's starting to go to a church and build within the community, even like serving at the church, just like surrounding myself with God-fearing people is where I'm at, I guess. I don't know. Pretty powerful stuff, if you ask me.
It's great. I love it. So if you could define like one of your greatest struggles that you've had in your life that your faith has helped you overcome, what would it be? What would be the thing that you've overcome the highest?
Well, if I can speak freely,
sure.
Should I or not?
Absolutely.
Oh man. Well, I would have to say drug and alcohol addiction.
Okay.
Yep.
And what was that process like? What did that look like for you?
Well, if anybody's had to deal with addiction in their family, you know what addiction can do. Mm-hmm. It totally takes who you are and removes you from anything that you love. So it's not a pleasant experience by any means, but
what was the coming out of that though? What was the process? What was that? What was the story there?
Well, this is one thing that I'm working on, is like to give glory to God, right?
Yeah.
But when you ask me that question, the first thing that came to mind is I just made the decision to stop. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, breaking a repetitive cycle of destruction, personal destruction.
Yep.
You just got there. Just like, I'm done.
They say that God will remove it from you, and you couldn't even do it if you wanted to. So,
is that how you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's
awesome.
I mean, yeah, it's I enjoy it. So.
No, you're a very positive person and very motivating to a lot of people. This version of you is the best version of you I've ever met. I've told you that recently, honestly.
Yeah, being honest with yourself is very hard, especially sitting at a table talking about it, But
yeah.
You know what? You are who you are. You go through what you go through. People will judge you no matter what, if you're good or bad, right? So just make sure that the people around you, you take care of them and treat them with respect. Yeah. I don't know.
That's real.
Well, yeah, and the point of this whole thing, this first half of the podcast, the whole point of this is to encourage other business owners, someone who's out there who's probably struggling with the exact same thing, because we all know how hard it is to own a business. We know how hard it is to build something, that someone out there is burying that in an addiction. And hearing from you could be a huge win for them. Could be the thing that goes, oh, you know what? All I have to do is make that decision, make that pivot, and let the Lord do his thing. But also, the Lord doesn't do anything. He's a gentleman, right? He knocks before he comes in. He does, he doesn't push, and even though he could. And so I think this is good for somebody that probably needs to hear it. There's someone out there that needs to hear this. That's what I believe. So I
appreciate you saying that. It makes me feel a little bit better about thinking about it,
Oh.
But
a lot of folks think that the challenges in running or owning a business are the things that come with it, like getting customers or managing money. Well, sometimes it's internal struggles that you deal with that you completely mask.
Yeah.
Just because it's it's an embarrassing topic for yourself or something like that. But growth is important.
Yeah. Yeah.
to see a success in personal growth is as impressive as success in business.
Yeah. I
To
mean,
me.
I grew up in a family full of addicts. A lot of alcohol. A lot of alcohol in my family.
Did you say addicts or
Addic-
addicts?
Addicts.
Oh.
No, addicts. Addicts.
What kind of house
Because
you
every
live
house
in?
has an attic, right?
I had an attic. I had an attic in my house. It was really tough.
It was a flat roof.
But I
No
but I
attic.
grew up grew up with that, knowing it and being very exposed to like the reality of it in a positive way. So like when I own my own business, I can totally look at being like I could see when I would have drank to bury that, because like there are times there's a janitor's closet within my office, and there was multiple times that I just was like I would walk in there and just break down because I was just like I don't know how to deal with what I'm dealing with, and like losing my mind in that moment. And I can see without being like hammered on like do not ever use alcohol in this way because it's in your generational bloodline, whatever. So I didn't, but oh man, I can see why. Like I can totally see what it'd be like. Well, just one. I wouldn't just go out and just get smashed a little bit just to forget about this for an hour, or whatever. I can see it. So
That's intent.
yeah. How about you?
I have been through. I think the struggle for me is of relationships and raising children and not staying together in the relationships with the significant others, but still managing to work together. A lot of me is personal, confidence in myself. Definitely have found myself abusing substances before, but I've always been able to step away from anything like that. It was more as a kid, as experimental.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
But yeah, for me, a lot of it's more personal struggles.
How do you think
internally.
that like you've kind of talked about how like you've gone more into like a structured, like I'm going to actually go after this faith walk.
Sure.
How do you think that that's changed that part of you?
A lot of it is being around positive people.
Okay.
Surrounding yourself with like-minded folks and folks that have good intentions for themselves.
And what has that changed in you?
I think it gives you a sense of confidence, a sense of pride in doing right for the community. Working with the church, I feel really good, honestly.
Didn't you just start
giving back?
Yeah, you just started
Serving.
teaching childcare at the church.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
After the service.
Yep.
Okay.
For the second
for
service.
the second service.
Yeah.
Oh wow, good.
So I'm working in
Okay.
childcare.
Has it impacted your you just said you're engaged?
For sure.
So
yeah.
Is that a change for you?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay. So being able to be in a relationship and stick with it.
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
No,
That's great.
it feels really good. And then to find somebody that your soul matches with, it always feels like the right person right away. In the beginning of every relationship, you're in that fantasy land with each other, but durationally, you tend to see, whether or not you're compatible, and I'm really happy with where I'm at right now. It's just been 100% growth from what I've noticed, so I'm very thankful for that.
That's great.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your business. You guys are in business together.
Yes,
I
sir.
thought that's what we were just doing.
Oh, yeah,
The business.
Oh, the business. The
No,
business.
That was dirty laundry.
That was your
Now we're talking
dirty.
about
Yeah.
I know, it's so
Well,
easily.
so for people to see that you're real people,
I
I
know,
mean,
just
come on.
give it up right
After
away.
we start talking about the business side, people are going to be like, these guys are omnipresent people. Like, there's no way that I can be like them. I want to see that you're real people.
Yep, I agree.
So let's talk about that in regards to the business. JP Plumbing. You guys, how long have you both been in the plumbing business? How long have you been in plumbing?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know.
Okay.
I think 12 years.
Okay.
But you know
I
what?
think
So over a
longer.
decade.
Longer?
Over a decade at least.
Yeah,
So,
I
I've been
think
plumbing
longer.
since I was 3 years old.
Yeah, he was born with a pipe wrench.
Because
in his hand.
you're 18, right? So
Back then-
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally.
Back then we had to solder with 2 rocks.
Yeah.
How about you? How long have you been in plumbing?
I want to say close to 10 years.
Okay. All right.
So
So a long time. And you guys, JP Plumbing's been around for 3 years, correct?
correct. We're going into our 3rd year officially, but Josh had started the business probably a year prior to him and I joining forces.
Well,
So-
he was involved.
Yeah.
Like he worked. Like He's been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just made a partnership official.
Yeah.
Right? But
So let's talk through that process, right?
Sure.
You guys have been in plumbing for 10 plus years, 20 years together, but
Yeah.
let's just say 10 years you guys have been in plumbing. What was it that caused you to first start doing your own thing, and then for the two of you to become partners and start JP Plumbing officially? So what was the catalyst for you to go, I'm going to do this for myself?
well, so I talked about earlier about my family being entrepreneurs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my older brother, he was so basically he had a plumbing and AC company,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to work for him, not doing any trades, but gym shorts in the parking lot, sweeping the parking lot when
Sure.
I was in in the summer.
So he
Right?
wasn't
I wasn't
an
even
electrician
old enough
then.
to have a job.
Definitely wasn't an electrician because you were sweeping stuff up. So that's good.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
No disrespect to electricians, but get a broom.
But so I asked him for a job. He gave it to me.
Okay.
And then from there, my my work ethic and how I conducted myself within this very successful company,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to move up get the opportunity to become a plumber.
Okay.
And then from there,
Just kept on.
well, my dad has given me the gift of my hands, like being able to work with my hands, right?
Yeah.
So that played a huge factor into my success because I can figure it out, right?
Gotcha.
So was able to get aboard a very predominant plumbing company that had strict rules about quality, about customer service, being a true professional tradesman. So all these things I was able to learn within my brother's company that he built.
Got it.
Like it was him that created this
Got it.
structure.
So you had a really great template to follow after and
The
look at.
best.
Yeah.
There's not, in my opinion, like the plumbing industry is huge out here, but it's very small, right? So people jump from company to company, and you hear about this.
You're known.
and that,
You're
and this
known.
and that.
Everyone knows who everybody
you get a
is, pretty much.
reputation for sure.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, or how a company conducts business.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
How they will hire anybody to do the job when not anybody can do it. Right.
Yeah.
In my opinion, but so
Well, yeah, you never know who you're getting.
yeah, I mean there's levels to it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
There is levels to it. Someone could plumb for 20 years, but not know
How to do
How
it
to plumb.
properly. Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
not that I'm the best or even near it, but I do take pride in my work, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because like even a local company here that was built up for a long time that I actually interviewed on another previous podcast, Benjamin Franklin, plumbing, interviewed the owner of them, like his process of like what he learned and how he went through it, and like he said the exact same thing of like it's all about how you treat your people because it matters, because it gets out there and it comes back to you and back and forth. So his whole thing was he built his company off of his employees and how he treated them. And then he got bought out. And so the company today is owned by I think a Japanese conglomerate.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But his success story of his own building his own thing was the same what you're saying. It's like, I knew that you would be known by what you do.
Did you say Chinese or Japanese?
Maybe it was Chinese.
I think it's Chinese. Do you know
It's synergy.
what do you call a Chinese billionaire?
What?
Cha-ching. Anyways,
Are you a dad?
yeah, I'm a father of two.
No way. No way. Okay, how about you? How did you get into plumbing?
Well, it's kind of strange because I owned...
It's not strange.
Yeah. No, well, these are those weird ties that come together. But yeah, I ended up... I owned a tattoo shop at one point in time. I've been an artist for a long time. My whole family's like artists and musicians. And that just happened to be the form that I created in, or one of them, at least to make money.
Well, that's cool.
So I needed a plumber because the business front that I owned had been plumbed incorrectly. And so I went on Facebook and reached out to some friends, like who knows a good plumber, and somebody referred Josh to me.
Jimmy Overby.
Yeah, Jim Overby, which is somebody.
Does he want his name out there like
Yeah,
that? Are you sure
tough.
he wants to be responsible for this?
He wants all the credit.
I said
He lets us know every time.
Jimmy with the G.
Yeah. But yeah, so I reach out. I get referred Josh.
Okay.
Josh comes out and helps me out. We end up kind of becoming acquaintances that way, not necessarily best friends or friends even at that, just we were acquaintances. And I started following him on Facebook, and just seeing his progression and his success. And like I said, he's always been impressive to me in that sense. And my uncle worked for a plumbing company, and I had closed my tattoo shop just because I got tired of doing it. And he told me that he could get me a job there. So I've tried many things in my life, so I said, why not try plumbing? So I started plumbing, doing new home construction, and worked in new home construction for about 8 years, but was just fell in love with it.
That's cool.
And then and just had known since I met Josh that at some point in time, him and I would be in business together, whether he realized that or not. It was just, for some reason, set in my mind that was going to be the case, or that I wanted to work with him. And I got to a point where I was skilled enough to where I approached him and asked him if he needed help. And for that first year, him and I worked together 2 days a week. I worked for the other plumbing company, but took 2 days off to work with Josh, Thursday, Friday. And then that's when.
And you were tattooing too.
Correct.
Yeah, so he was doing 3.
I always,
Making it all, you got to make it work, right?
I've always had
The
a lot of
grind.
jobs at one time.
Yeah, it's a grind.
It's
Just
just how
things
I
going.
am.
Yeah.
But we both Josh and I have a very strong business mentality. We're both out to work and provide a quality service and hustle. But yeah, I put in my time at Brewer Plumbing and learning the trade and learning how plumbing works, and was able to step into service plumbing, which is a whole nother world.
From new
you
construction
know,
to
it's
service is a
it
complete
was
different
like,
game.
and then jumping in with Josh, who's got so much knowledge, I was able to progress so fast and just had the desire to catch up to him. So I'd go home and study anything new, anything that we came into, through our daily grind that I just had no clue about. So that's kind of how I progressed into the position I'm in, which I'm still learning from him and Max.
Well, we're always learning.
Thoroughly.
Always. Or you're dying.
Yeah, speaking of
You're
thoroughly,
you're learning or
he
you're dying.
tricked me in the beginning. He said, listen, he's like, hold on. He's like, how far can one thoroughbred pull a trailer?
Yep.
And I was like, I don't know, halfway. He goes, well, how many can 2? And I said, the whole way. I was like, all right, let's do it.
Yep.
Tricked me.
No, I said 2's better than 1. Let's run it. And it's been true. We've when he falters, I pick up. When I falter, he picks up. And that's a beautiful thing about having like a companionship or a co-relationship.
Totally.
In a sense of business is we're there for each other.
Yeah, well,
and hold each other up.
Sorry to interrupt, but plumbing is in Brendan's family with his uncle. I've met him before. Like, he's been plumbing for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And Brendan actually tried to get a job where I worked with my brother, but he was apprentice green, and they denied it. Right.
Sure.
So instead of just like, whatever,
Giving up.
he found a different route and did that for how long?
It was 8 years.
Yeah, 8 years. Like, most people don't have jobs that long anymore. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah.
No, I'm a loyalist when it comes down to something I set my mind to.
Totally.
It's
Well, then can I get that $5 back you borrowed in 2020?
That's another story.
2020, guys.
That's another story.
Interest.
Okay, so something I didn't know is that you actually had a storefront tattoo shop. I knew you did tattoos. I knew you did that, but like, I had a storefront.
Yeah.
And that is a whole nother animal. Like, what you guys do now, I get having that, but like the overhead of a storefront is a monster. What do you think? I'm a firm believer that the Lord takes everything we go through, either good or bad, like what He's designed or what we've created, and He uses that for our good. I believe that's a biblical standard. So I guess my question for you is that tattoo shop. How, for people that are out there listening right now, they're looking to get into business or starting a business, what is it that you learned there that you apply now? Like, what do you feel like that's made an impact on how you run your business today?
It has changed the way that I looked at all the businesses that I've worked with before, the ways that I had been disrespectful to the owners of those companies, inadvertently or advertently. just because I was young and didn't care.
Sure.
Once you own your own business, you definitely look at things differently.
Totally.
You know, and
Gotcha.
and then seeing the way that I guess it's hard to manage people and understanding, you know, how you really need to listen to folks and take care of your employees at the same time, respect yourself and your customers, and to find that balance is challenging. And to do it by yourself is challenging. When I had that tattoo shop, I was pretty young. So I feel like if I owned it again, that I would approach it 100% different.
Yeah.
You know, but through that experience, it gave me the opportunity to step into this experience with Josh and have a different perspective and to respect it more and to understand that this is how we feed our families. This is how, you know, people perceive us. This is how we take care of folks. This is how we respect people beyond ourselves.
Totally.
And driving in quality. That's one thing that you get from being a tattoo artist. I know some people may or may not respect it 100%, but the fact that you are making a permanent alteration to somebody's body demands the utmost respect.
Totally.
To make that connection to somebody and to have somebody say, you know, I'm giving you the opportunity to create for me, on me, is a pretty challenging thing to take on. So
Totally.
It I guess it's changed me in a lot of ways in my perspective on how to do business.
What's so interesting for me, what I was going to say is, I did not expect to go this way at all, but the tattoos I've got on my arm that I took some time, I had a guy who was a Christian dude that I met in college, and we just got to know each other really well, and he tattooed, and the process of like talking through them and like, okay, and, like him saying things that I had never heard like a tattooer. He's like, okay, now sit on it for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then like it got to a point where I was like, I'm going to sit on stuff for like a year to make sure that I actually really want this permanently on my body. And like having that, there's actually like a communion, like a unique like circumstance where you're sitting in a chair with somebody tattooing you.
Oh, yeah.
That's like this, you have these conversations, you can get really deep with some people sometimes just talking about life, and you're stuck together for 2 hours. It's amazing what you talk about.
Yeah, it's interesting, like what you're saying, that connection.
Yeah.
You know, where you get to spend that much time with somebody, you're putting them through pain, you're putting them through happiness, you're putting, you know, you're basically putting through every range of emotions and then getting them to talk on top of it. And you're almost like a therapist. And you get to know a lot of folks better than their significant others know them because you have so much time together.
Like you can't do anything else.
Yeah,
you're stuck. You're just stuck there together.
That was one thing I really enjoyed about it was the relationships and conversations that I got to have. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, so would you guys? I think what something I can say is like the foundation that you guys started on as a business. You had a lot of mentorship. That was even between the two of you to each other, but the mentorship you guys had set you up on a foundation that was really solid. You weren't underneath a sleazeball who taught you a bunch of crazy stuff. Like you even said, like something I've heard a lot talked about. The other podcast I had was a construction podcast, and one of the things I've talked about a lot is like destroying the perceptions and the characterizations of every different industry. So that's like I know what they are, like the broom, the electrician doesn't sweep up, right?
Yeah.
The plumber's crack, and like, but that was one of the things that like a lot of successful companies in the plumbing industry are very specific about that. Like make sure your stuff fits, make sure your shirts are long enough, because just a little bit that like characterization just comes out. People are like, oh well, he's in. You know, not to take Parker and Sons thing, but that's another Melvin, you know, or whatever, you know, in that way.
Please edit that out. They have enough advertisements.
Okay, I'll say it again. You know, like here's another Jack. Here's another dude who he's just bumbling around like an idiot doing his thing. He can't even keep his pants on. Like, how am I supposed to? Whatever. So, I seen that when going to jobs with you guys as part of this process. Seeing the professionalism in you guys and in your employees, like just extreme professionalism all the way, like to a point where it's probably a little bit uncomfortable to be as professional looking and as sharp looking instead of just getting into it and going and just not worrying about that, because it's hard. It's harder to do that. I guess the question I have though too is when it comes, so it's a little bit more pivoted back to like the faith side of things. How has your faith, how has the Bible, how has your walk with God affected the decision making you guys make from either from the beginning or now in your business? How does that impact it?
I just have really embraced the fact that I want to walk in the path of God as closely as I can,
Okay.
knowing that I'm not perfect, and being able to ask for forgiveness and to put things into God's hands when I have doubt or worry or question about, a direction that Josh and I should go or what's happening, to just step back and realize that, we have the power of God with us, and that as long as we submit and take a step back and just trust in faith, that it generally works out for Josh and I. There may be moments that are challenging, but I don't think everything is easy. I don't think tough things are supposed to be easy, and
No.
I feel like what we're doing is a step above what a lot of folks do, and not that what other folks do is wrong, but when
Sure.
you challenge yourself to grow and to create opportunities for other individuals, like employees, it takes more than yourselves, and it's beautiful to have God as an option to help us
So it gives you a
to
lot of. It
overcome.
sounds like a lot of peace.
Yeah,
A lot of peace where maybe someone else wouldn't have peace, and a lot of the ability to just be clear-minded
Yeah,
instead of being muddied up with fear.
yeah. When Josh and I have those conversations that are tough, where we're trying to figure something out, we both within some point of it reassure each other, that it's going to work out. We just put it in God's hands and do the right thing, and it always seems to find a path that's prosperous for us, whether it be spiritually, financially, or emotionally. That's my perspective on it.
Yeah. Yep.
Any thoughts from you, Josh, at all?
Well, so what I was thinking,
Yeah.
the entire time you were talking. Sorry, I wasn't listening. I was thinking.
Sorry, I
Just kidding.
blacked
No.
out.
He's used to it.
I blacked out.
No. Yeah, it's definitely. Let's see here. So what I think. So like when I go to a house, I'm very personable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate going to everyone's houses. I've always said this, like, because I like to work on my own house. So all these houses that we go into, I see everyone's creative ideas, and I get to like, and I'm like always like, hey, look at that.
That's cool.
I
Yeah.
really like that what you did, like,
Yeah.
and then
I definitely felt that way walking into your house, so I totally
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah,
well,
you
you
got a
can
bunch
thank
of
all of
very
my,
unique.
or you can thank all of our customers for all their
Insight.
for all their contractors.
Yeah,
But
their ideas.
So when I started, like really diving into church and talking about it openly, like reading the Bible, doing Bible study with my girlfriend, like
Really pursuing it, really going after it. Yeah.
right. So now when I go into a house, not every time, but I see like a cross or something that resembles God, and it gives me a different connection with the customer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just I like that short, quick conversation with a customer, and it's real to me, right? Like there's these strategies out there to like they say deflate the balloon when you go to a customer's house, right? Whatever that means, right? Like the tension of some guy coming to your house when
How
you're
this
at
is gonna
work,
cost,
your
and who
wife's
is this?
home,
Yeah.
and the repairs in the master bedroom, right? The fear of that
Yeah.
is real.
Totally.
Okay. So to deflate the balloon, or I'm sorry, let me go back. They say to like, relate with the customer. Oh, hey, nice flowers in the front yard or whatever it may be, right? Just something
Something to break the ice.
Yeah.
Break,
Yeah.
But when I
tension
see a
breaker.
cross, it's like I
Calling
really
you.
like that cross. I'm not just saying that so I can sell you a toilet.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
so it's like it's just a real thing, and the more I dive into it, the longer my commitment goes. Consistency within the church.
Yeah.
I find that more and more opportunities are being built because of God, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like instead of that customer just having us out and thinking we do a great job and leaving a 5-star review and calling us back again when something else fails and referring us to their neighbor and their cousin and their church, it's like they're actually like attending church at the Bible study now, a customer, right? Because it's just a conversation of
That's
God.
awesome. Yeah, that's
So it's
awesome.
like, like it's just much more than just a paycheck.
Yeah.
It's like
But-
it's your mission field.
Yeah.
You're walking into people's homes. I think we were talking about that the other day. Is like the opportunity you guys have is more than me as a pastor has typically. Because when someone's talking to me, they're either at the end of the line and they're desperate, or something of those lines. Like it's not a casual encounter where the Lord can just show up, and that's when I think the Lord works the most. Is in those casual encounters when someone's not expecting it, or they're not in a place where it would be easily feasible for a man-made situation to give them what they're looking for. And because like that, what you're talking about right there, and I've heard from other people in the same realm as you, is like you walk past their threshold into their home, and you are asking the Lord to, hey, guide me in this, give me an opportunity to speak to somebody. And you take those, you see a thing, and like just hearing people say like, all I said was like, the Lord loves you, because they felt like the Holy Spirit was telling them to say that, and they felt really stupid saying it because it's such a generic, dumb term. And the person's like, you know what? Earlier today I was praying. I was like, Lord, I just don't even know if you love me. I know you love mankind, but I just don't know if you actually love me. And this person walking into their house, doing their thing, and saying, feels like the Lord wanted me to tell you that He loves you. He loves you. And it's just like the person just breaks down, and like this whole cool moment while you're getting paid to do a job is really cool.
Yeah.
Like, because it's a real moment. Because like if I say it, you're here at church, and I say, hey, remember the Lord loves you. You're like, haha, cool. You're supposed to say that.
You
but
too,
like,
buddy.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you guys being out there in the field, just normal life, being able to just being able to just hit people right where they're at in their homes is a really cool opportunity.
Well, a lot of people don't share their faith.
Yeah.
So the opportunity to talk to somebody random about their faith is unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say, and maybe this is a good pivot to your employees, is I was on a job with you guys as part of this process, and I was talking to Max, one of your employees, and we were talking, and his story is just crazy, like such a crazy story, and hearing where he's at, and all these.
Did he tell you that he jumped out of the helicopter without a parachute?
No. Okay, adding
Max
onto a bowl.
onto a bowl.
Okay, that's not true, is it? Because his story is crazy enough that I would believe you, but I'm not sure if I should. But he's such a down to earth dude. But when you get to the story, it's a really cool story. And so, okay, even like what you're talking about with the clients, it seems like somebody else would look at his background and his story and say, there's a lot of possible liabilities in this, right? But he is your best dude.
Yeah, no, we're very thankful for Max.
Right. And so and he's awesome. I love Max. I think I went to 2 different jobs with him. He's fun. You can tell he is a workhorse.
Yeah.
All these things. But so like from your perspectives as a Christian, meeting Max, working with Max, bringing Max into the company and utilizing, not using him, but like utilizing him, and he's winning by working for you guys too. I know that he's thrilled to be there, and he's making good money. He's got all these plans for his house. It's cool to see him like flourishing too, and having all this life himself. How does your faith, your walk, your experiences yourselves in your own lives, like we talked about in the beginning here, how has that impacted who you approach as employees and how you approach your employees? How does that impact that?
You want me to go first, Jim?
Sure.
Well, it hasn't yet.
Okay.
Right? Because with our stories, okay, we've been through a lot. So we're not very judgmental of a past, right? Now, you don't, like, it's not on the application, do you go to church?
Sure.
So that's a good question. And it's maybe, you know what? I don't even know how to answer this.
Well, with Max, dealing with him, working with him, I feel like you probably you had to take. I mean, I keep using his name, and it probably wasn't the right way to do it. But
That's okay.
But like another person comes in that you're going to be hiring. What do you look at that maybe sets you apart from somebody else who'd be looking? Like you said, like you went to his uncle's company and didn't get hired because you were green and you were whatever. Then you got another job, and then it all came back full circle. When you guys are looking to hire right now, right?
Well, so Max, he is an experienced, high-level plumber.
Yeah.
Okay?
Obviously.
Base that off alone.
Yeah.
That's why he's in the door. All the other great things about him that we know personally, like he would take his shirt off his back for one of us, no matter what, right? And that's something to be spoken for. Right?
Yeah, of course.
He believes in God.
Yeah.
Right? He does. He's been through a lot in his life, and there is a employee friendship level that we all keep very comfortably, right? Like we're able to work together smoothly and have our own personal life, so it's
but still retain a friendship outside of work.
Well, yeah,
it seems like you guys do life together.
We hang out, yeah.
You do life together.
Yeah.
You guys actually care about each other. You actually care about your employees.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we will or are working on once we do hire new employees is maintaining that work-life balance where there's not such a friendship is not the ultimate role within the situation between us. But as of right now, with us being smaller like we are, it just is that way. But once we start hiring, there are definitely going to be criteria and things that we look for to make sure that we're bringing in, prime employees for the company and making sure that when we send folks into people's houses that we know for sure that they're solid and they are not a liability as much as we possibly can.
Well, Max was calling me uncle when we first met. He still does, right? He tells customers, and come to find out, it's because how old I am, not because I think he just turned 30.
He told me
Max?
he told me he was calling you grandpa, but
He thought he was saying he was being like honorary.
Yeah,
to you,
so
and
I
he's really
started
just
going
calling
to the
you out,
gym
just calling
because
you
I
out.
ain't getting pumped out by no blue belt.
and he gets his blue belt and he just thinks he can say whatever he wants.
Yeah, all of a sudden he's in the meetings talking all the time.
Showing up with a gavel.
Jiu-jitsu.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Okay. What about customers? Dealing with customers. What do you think sets you guys apart from who you were before, or who maybe somebody else out there who does a good job? Let's not compare against the guy out there who's dirty or a scum or whatever. Let's talk about another solid. They come out, they're gonna fix your plumbing problem. They're gonna do a good job, but they're gonna leave. They're gonna that sort of thing. They're gonna do a good job. What sets you guys apart, faith-wise or action-wise, that someone should call you guys? This is a little bit of a sales pitch, maybe a little bit for you guys, but what is it that God gives you, that your walk gives you, that sets you apart from the other good plumbers out there? This might be a tough question to answer, but I'm challenging you a little bit.
Well, Brendan, I'll tap on this real quick. So it's very confusing if you ask me, right? Because we set procedures up so a call can go smoothly, right? We show up when we say we're going to show up.
Sure.
We answer the phone when they call. We work around their schedule. We assess the problem area with confidence and honesty. We go over pricing first. We do a great job. And then at the end, the customer wants to say that we lied, cheated, and stole.
Yeah.
And that's the difficult thing, right? So everything leading up, we try to narrow down the opportunity for a sleazy customer, if you will, right, to deprive us of what we came out to do, right? Because there's a cost to it. We're there to help them, but they have to pay us to get it done, right?
Sure.
So we try to make it easy to do business with. We try to make it flow correctly, But when we do have those customers that want to come up with excuses, or we just make sure that everyone's different, right? You can't treat every customer the same. A lot of times we end up giving them money when necessary. We're giving them money back Like, they'll even pay it. And then a day later, we get blown up at 10 o'clock p.m. talking about how they talked to their handyman and we ripped them off. You know? And we just have to remember, that, hey, I'm sorry you feel this way, right? And and go over what we did, explain to them the process again, right? Because this handyman, who is probably saying, "Oh, well, I could have done it for $100," so then they get sticker shock or buyer remorse, So we want them to use us again.
Of course,
we want them to tell people about us, right?
Well, that's your whole business,
right?
That's business, yeah.
So then we go out of our way, and a lot of times we would just refund them the whole money back, because we don't want them to. Or this was my fault. I'd be like, you know what? Here's a full refund. I'm sorry that you felt that way. We don't want you to feel that way, But then it's like, you know what? Listen, we've done everything that we should have done, And so then it started coming, explaining to the customer, hey, that's not accurate. We did tell you this, or go back to your invoice. You signed it before we started work.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm getting
that's a really good thing to talk about right there. Is as a Christian, that is like you would think, I think unbalancedly, I think too much grace or too much softness in regards to like, oh, I'll just refund it. I'll pick up my cross and carry this
turning
thing,
the other cheek.
Turn the other cheek, which are all solid, true, real things, but you're never going to be successful in business if every time someone pushes back about what
you fold
and you just give it to them, because then you get a reputation for doing that. And then I'm just taking notes, and I need something done. I'm going to call you guys, and I'm just going to do the same thing.
Sometimes it's challenging to go into someone's home with the intentions to be as good as you can for them, and to accomplish a task that's been discussed, and then at the end to be devalued. It kind of puts you in a defensive mode where you're almost like what Josh is saying. We'll just refund the money.
Yeah.
Because, it's almost like the only way you can kind of get back at them without getting back at them, even though it's self-defeating.
Yeah.
But it's very rarely do we ever run into that situation. Most folks that we deal with.
Well, as we're growing, it's happening more and more. So now I'm realizing, hey, we can't just refund the money. Because we got to pay Max, we got to pay the car, we got to pay this, we got to pay that, right?
Yeah.
You got overhead, and you got the parts that you use. You got, all the things.
That's
right?
That's a challenging part, is getting people to understand the cost of doing business, where it's not just whatever's left over after the cost of material is complete profit to us, because it's not. It goes into so much.
Absolutely.
You throw it into a pool and it just spreads.
Totally.
And whatever is left that you think you can grasp out just goes right through your fingers.
Yeah.
But if you're not investing into your business, like, how are you growing?
So what do you think the balance is for somebody listening, for you guys, for yourselves? What is the balancing point of being soft, being loving, being kind, being Christ-like in that way, but also being truthful and stand up for yourself? Where do you find that balance? How do you find that balance? Maybe this is a question that you're figuring out yourselves, and we can just be honest about it, but
that's a scale that you're constantly adding to both sides to try to find that healthy point, because like Josh said, you can't treat every customer the same. Not every customer is the same. Some customers are so easy to work with, and some customers are very challenging to work with, and we just have to kind of cater to every situation.
True professional tradesmen,
and try to find a fairness for everybody, because ultimately that's where you're gonna get your best results from.
Okay.
Regardless of the situation.
It's fun, because we get to grow.
It always is.
We get to discuss it.
Yeah.
It makes us become better in the field, right?
Yeah.
It makes us set more procedures so we can protect what we've built, like the honesty of the industry, right?
Yeah.
Like when we show up, you don't have to worry about us lying, cheating, or stealing, right?
It's very clear cut.
You might think that it's going to happen because of the stigma of just people in general, right?
Totally.
Service professions always have that
Yep.
stigma that you're going to get taken advantage of or
Totally.
raked out, you know, but
Totally. And construction in general, people
Yeah.
think that.
And
Just
then-
in the whole, because the field it's such a tough field.
Yeah.
Like anything in this field, there are so many unknowns, and to like try to predict for everything would make every job astronomically expensive. You got to go with the gut and the middle and the experience that you guys
and
have.
with water, there's so much risk.
Oh, yeah.
If we make one little mistake, it costs us so much, you know. So the
Well, it's
the
funny.
value of our professionalism is extremely important in my eyes.
Well, yeah,
you know?
it's funny. The two in my mind that I always think about are the ones that I never mess with is plumbing and electrical.
Yep.
Like you get electrical wrong, you burn your building down.
Yep.
You get your plumbing wrong, you flood your building and it's ruined the same
Yeah.
way. Like you see, like so if you look up in the studio right now, there's pipes up above us for the bathrooms that are above us and the offices above us, and that was my number one concern when we were going to build this. I was like, well, how do we know that these aren't going to fail and crush this whole thing down here?
Well, they will fail eventually,
Yeah.
right? So, you
But
know,
the one of the other plumbers here at the church that this is based out of was the one who put it all in. He's like, listen, I know exactly when I put this in. It's in my system, which is a cool thing. So I'm not saying like
Yeah.
there's good guys out there outside of you guys, but like the idea of like my experience has been like it's in my system. I'm actually gonna tell you when I need to come out here and fix it.
Yeah.
'Cause I know like the standard like process of it all and like all these different things, and I was like, okay, I'm at peace now. But if I had just come in like a typical church setup and been like, oh yeah, some dude did it, some handyman did it, some guy did it, I'm like, I don't trust $20,000 worth of equipment in this room with a pipe over my head then at all. But like having a professional who really and who cares and who loves the job and loves being successful and giving people what they want is like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good on this.
Peace of mind is a beautiful thing, and when you're working with somebody who explains to you, that's one thing I notice a lot with my clientele, or when I get to go into homes and meet people, is I'll explain things to them, and a lot of them are older women who don't do any plumbing, or their husbands used to do it for them, and once you break down information for them and explain it to them, because most people think they wouldn't understand it, they're really thankful.
Well, and it's crazy because I was actually gonna bring up the one job that I was on with you guys. You guys were fixing a water heater, and you guys were putting in a soft water heater or softener for a couple that just moved from Chicago, I think, or something like that, from the Midwest. My family's all from the Midwest, so he's the husband's there. You dealt with the wife, right? You planned everything with the wife. You up front did the whole thing. Then the person who's of course is there is the husband. And then we're talking about a Chicago dude who's just like, he has no filter.
Yeah.
Which I love. I actually love that because at least I know exactly where this guy is.
They got good
There's
energy.
no question where this guy stands. And he started grilling you guys a little bit on like, why are we doing this and this and that? And you took the time to like explain it to him. And it was cool to see him go from like this like anxious, my wife did this, I don't trust it.
Yep.
Which a lot of men would say they do. It's like, well, my wife set this up. How do I know it's legit?
Needed.
And like explaining like the water difference between pulling water out of a well or out of Lake Michigan right there looking beautiful right at you versus here in Phoenix where it's like, you got to pipe this stuff in. It's got to be treated. It's hard. There's calcium everywhere. There's all this stuff in it. And like you walked him through that and then you explained why. And he's then watching him put together like, oh, that's why all the shower heads look like the way they do in here. And they had just bought the house. So they're like, he's like, I'm going to replace them because they're like gross. And like, yeah, that's why you never see that. Like I grew up, again, going in the summer to Milwaukee every summer. None of that exists. Every home in Phoenix has that.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting way of seeing you guys, even after the job is like you guys are putting together the soft water heater, and he's the water softener. Yeah, is being put in there though, and he's challenging you on the spot in the middle of it because his wife is the one who set it all up, and it legitimately makes sense to be like, I don't know anything about this, and I'm spending all this money, and what like he was like. And then just be like, let's just walk through it one more time, like we did with your wife.
Slow it down.
Yeah, and then he was fine at the end. A little, he still had that dry Chicago sense of humor and whatever. But it was cool to see what you're talking about. Like, take the time, take the effort, walk him through it again, do the thing, and hold your ground because you guys could have said, oh. Sorry, but but you know the truth of what you're doing.
Well,
the benefit of it.
I say you can buckle under the pressure of like disputes or
Yeah.
questions. But if you know what you're talking about, we don't sell things to people that they don't need.
Yeah.
And we have a good reason for anything that we install into somebody's house. So there's always a appropriate explanation for why what you're getting is worth it.
Well, the knowledge just flows off our tongue like water off a duck or whatever they want to say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's just second nature to us.
It's what you do. It's
so
who
like,
you are. Yeah.
For us to be able to explain to a customer that's like trying to, well, first off, the wife said, "Hey, don't tell my husband. I will pay for this. Don't tell my husband the cost." And
that was a problem. That she wasn't
so
there.
we're like, okay, like, and then he's there, right, with his little dog that looked like he trained to attack people. But so that
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
that's a challenge there, right? But yeah,
That's a dilemma.
well, you know what I mean.
Hey,
So
good thing we're pet friendly.
yeah, pet friendly.
So that attack dog doesn't work on us.
No.
We're the kryptonite.
No.
Yeah, and this particular customer.
Well, that's interesting because you're like in the middle of a marriage dispute. Then in that situation where she's like, "Don't tell my husband I'm spending this money."
I believe that those two folks were very much a combative, like positive relationship. Because I've been out to their house a couple of times, and
Okay.
they've always got entertaining interaction.
Oh yeah, they're just spicy.
Yeah,
They're just
it's
spicy.
fun.
It's like almost a spicy couple. They've got a little pepper.
I like it.
Yeah, what I like, Jonathan, is the fact that you were like an audience watching us at work, right? And you seen a if you will, like a problem or like a hurdle to jump over an aggressive customer.
Yeah.
Where personally, I did not feel that way.
Okay.
You right?
Yeah.
Like I just felt like this. That's just like
That's like normal.
it's like like.
Totally. I'm sure it is.
Like,
I'm sure it is.
We're there to, obviously they're trusting us in their home, right?
And that's scary for them. That's just a natural, scary place to be.
Yeah, and
Trusting
what they
somebody
had,
else.
they had a ticket that was very like we took one treatment system off that was not doing anything for their house, right?
Yeah.
Moved the loop to the correct loop, right?
Mm-hmm.
We fixed the water heater that was leaking and all out of code, and who knows who did it.
Yeah, the
on the cell of
recirculation
the house,
was a
right?
mess.
Like,
Yeah.
call
Just
Jimmy.
get it done. Just get it done.
Call
Yeah.
Jimmy. He'll get it done.
Yeah.
So it was, in my eyes, the ticket was high. Like, especially when you're buying a house nowadays. Like,
Yeah,
the
but
cost of a house is, like, it's just
Yeah,
a
it's
lot of
insane.
money, right?
Yeah.
the benefit they get from it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Is a lot of folks are very, very interested in getting something done when they have a problem, and then as soon as the problem's fixed, to them it's not a problem anymore. So then they
It's not on
lose
fire,
an
yeah.
idea of the value of what they just received
Yeah.
because they're not seeing it as a
Anymore.
problem,
Yeah.
And I've noticed that a lot. Where initially they're just like whatever it takes, and then as soon as it's fixed, they're like, wait a minute, let's talk about this. And it's like, well, it's I don't know, I guess it's a perspective end of it on their end, But yeah, we definitely have to overcome.
Totally.
All I can do is look at these pipes now.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Wesley
Nathan.
Pipes.
So
you got
okay.
Wesley Pipes
Wesley Pipes.
or Godzilla.
What from your perspective then, and just talking through all this, there's a lot of things that go into just in business in general and success as a business, and I feel like the things that we're talking about can be outside of a Christian business, right? But there's a higher power that I think what you said earlier puts in perspective for you guys is that you run it in this way, but know that you've got God on your side, so the peace is there. You're not freaking out. You're not losing it because of that.
Yeah, I believe our intentions are positive. I believe that we show up with respect and love and and wanting to help people. I don't ever believe that we show up maliciously. So for me to assume that we're struggling for any particular reason that we couldn't just put it in God's hands, that it wouldn't work out, doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I feel like we have that ability.
If your kids were going into business for themselves and they said to you, man, I'm having to make a lot of decisions to start this thing up, to get going, to work with customers, all this, and they asked you, what should I do? How do I make these decisions? What would be the process that you would tell, or your younger self, or what would you say is like, this is how you do it, this is how you make decisions, this is how you handle customers? What would be the filter or the process that you would give your kid to do?
I always say to Josh, just walk, set up a plan. Start writing out the things that you think you need. You'll never be able to write it all out because you have no idea everything that you're going to need. Look up people that are doing the same thing, mentors, which I've talked to Josh about recently. Finding mentors that can help you and that you appreciate and respect and emulate what they do. But you can write it all out, come up with the best plan in the world, talk about it for 100 years. If you never take a step, then you're never going to move in the direction that you want to go. So you have to just take a leap of faith, if you will, and start moving. And once you start moving, you'll gain momentum. And then you just work with positive intentions, love, respect, and, a desire to be a better person and to help people grow. And I can't see how you'd fail,
Yeah.
And if you do, then you just get up and keep doing it.
It's good.
I mean, that's how I do it.
It's good. It's good. Josh, any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So Brendan, he writes down everything. Like it's pretty impressive how he does it. I'm not the same way, but when I see him do it, I'm like, all right, this is nice. This is nice because you can read what you think. I'm personally, I'm like always thinking. Like it's hard for me to, and Brendan's mentioned this to me, and like I'm like always thinking about something, where it's hard to like gain a conversation with me, because I'm,
You just
Come back here. Come
Yeah,
back here.
right?
Come back here.
He's like this machine that's just in his mind and just constantly analyzing, which is a beautiful thing. And I think that's what helps with him and I is we're so different, but that we complement each other in the way that we have the ability to grow and perceive the situations that we're involved in. Whereas one minute he's thinking this way and then it talks to me for a second and I kind of give him my insight and slow him down or give him another perspective and vice versa. And we just build off each other,
Yeah, so I would tell my kids to find something that you love doing and run with it.
Okay.
That's because nobody wants to get up and do something they don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're in their.
That's why there's divorce,
But doing
right? I mean, gosh. Let's just be open.
No,
and
that's the
honest.
end of this episode. That's perfect. There's nothing else really there. Got nothing else. I got nothing else to add to that.
Yeah.
No. Okay. So they're in that. They're in the thing they want to do. They have a passion for it. Like you guys have a passion for what you
Sure.
do. What is it? What should be the guiding principle? Maybe that's the thing. Is what is the guiding principle, the biblical principle, or that you would say, like, please, even when it's difficult, run. Like, I think what you were kind of saying is, like, through love, kindness, caring for the other person, even when it's difficult, act through this principle, and you'll always come out the other side. Yeah.
You'd be a real human.
Although God is very relevant in my life, and I read the Bible, and I go to church, go to 2 churches, go to Bible study on a Wednesday, I go to a men's group on Monday, I go to a men's group second Sunday of every month. Like, I'm filling my life around it all, right? And it's so I'm not an educated, wise Christian to sit here and say that, how I can relate my life and put God in the center of it. Like, I don't fully understand it yet, right? But like, I know that He's real. I know that He's present in my life. And I know He's working on the business. Like, I know that He's working in Brendan's life. Like, I can see it happening, right? So, like, do I find myself learning that when I'm going through a situation to give it to God and to pray about it? I'm learning that, right? Do I like, God has given me a gift, and He wants me to use it. So a lot of times I feel like I'm capable of making a decision without asking God per se, right? That I know that's going to lead down a godly manner, a godly path, knowing God is there blessing it, right? And that's kind of where I'm at a little bit, you know?
Love that.
So
No, it makes total sense because you're not having to stop and be like, okay, Lord, what do I need to do here? You're just living in the gifting that He's given you and where you know you're supposed to be, and you're just acting it out is what you're saying. Like, I'm acting on what He's given me, and I have peace because I know I'm acting what He's given me.
yeah, and I've never said this before, so I don't know where it's coming from. But what I've been saying is I don't know what He has in store for me.
Sure.
Why is He pushing on to me so strongly, right? Like, why?
Yeah.
Why? What does He want? Like,
Totally.
He wants me to do something amazing.
Yeah.
What is it? Right? What is it? But it's fun. It's exciting. It's real. It feels good. And, to be honest, I would consider myself so new that I'm starting, I don't want to cuss anymore. So I'm like, when I cuss, because I still do occasionally, and I feel like, oh geez, like I'm trying to
Be better.
be better,
Yeah.
So
Well, it never stops.
Yeah.
So even what you're talking about, you say that, but you guys I've watched you, I've seen you. You're being very modest, I think, in a lot of ways, because I think the glorious thing about Christ and the glorious thing about what we have is that it's not us, and it's a constant, always looking in the mirror, constantly changing and growing and exposing new things. The Lord is always exposing. You'll never get comfortable. That's the whole point. Until you die, then it's like everything's great. But until then, the Lord just grinds on us. We just are constantly chasing after that perfection that we'll never get until we're dead, And so I think you're good. I think you've got it figured out in a lot of ways. I mean, being a mature Christian is kind of, I think, a little bit of a allegory and a fake thing to me,
Because you're constantly growing.
It's not. I mean, look at who the disciples were, and just who Peter was and who these people were, like the worst, or the most unexperienced. They just had they had no business being there.
The people that needed God the most.
Yeah. Oh, of course. It's just an interesting thing to put I'm just challenging you in that way too. It's just as we're talking through this is no, because what you just said is perfect. You just said, what you said is exactly right in that pursuit, in that figuring it out, and being humble enough to stay there is the healthiest place to be, I think, as a business owner, as a person, as a whatever. Because you and I were talking the other week, and you were like, man, as soon as we get comfortable, we start stagnating. We get like, how do we push? So it's just a life principle. It's you can't stop, and you don't have to be unhealthy about it. Don't be unhealthy and grind yourself into the ground. But also in your faith and in your business, the same thing. Pursue what God's put in front of you. Period.
Yeah.
And go after it. So that's great. I love it.
Yep. Just walking.
I'm glad you said that, because I've been I can see powerful people in the church, and what I mean by powerful is either they're very educated and they are appointed to speak a lot, right? Within the group, so you hear what they have to say, which makes me feel like they're
better.
They're a senior pastor or whatever, or a high priest in the church or whatever it might be, right? And then I'm like, what God is giving me, and maybe what God is giving me is more powerful than I can even comprehend, right? To try to say I don't deserve it because I can't talk about the Bible like this gentleman, or I haven't experienced the church as long as this gentleman. But you mentioned about Peter being
a fisherman.
Well, not a public speaker.
Yeah.
A timid, scared person that doesn't feel like he can accomplish a crowd.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I'm just happy that it's in my life,
Yeah. Changes the game a lot.
And I'm glad you and Country are doing good at church too.
Yeah, no, I'm thankful
Yeah.
for it. It's been an amazing change.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your partnership a little bit. What was the catalyst for the two of you to go, let's not just we work, we know each other, we've been in, what, and even like working together those couple days, what was it that was like, let's get together and do this thing? What was that moment? What was that? Why?
I'm curious to hear the two's perspective. So
Yeah.
I want
Plug your ears and he can go.
You go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we kind of dabbled in a little bit about how we met.
Yeah.
And that was when I was a plumber in training.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, you had just started
I
plumbing.
was hungry, right? Like I had to prove myself. I was going against
You were going.
technicians that were vetted, and I've never even been in a plumbing truck before, right? And I'm going to get this.
You're going to figure it out.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, it worked. But Brendan and I were working together a couple of days out of the week on bigger projects that I had going on. And my perspective is we were talking about going in, bringing them aboard, having them become a member of JP Plumbing with a percentage, right? So he could make more money than he was before doing plumbing. And I swear, I think we were at Freddy's. We just ate at Freddy's too.
Yeah.
But I think we were at Freddy's.
Having custard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Feeding each other cheeseburgers.
and I was asking how he felt about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, would he be interested in something like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I swear I was like, I think I said, all right, well, let's do 30% of the company. And then all of a sudden I said, let's do 50. You want to do 50? Let's do it. Let's run it.
Split it down the middle and let's go.
Yep. And
why do you think you did that? Just out of curiosity, what was was there a thought in your head, or was it more like, this is what feels right, I'm going with it?
well, after I think about it, I've tried to understand it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like, why try to understand something that just happened? Like, I know that he has a daughter that I love too, like she's very cool. And it was like, where he was working before, in my opinion, does not pay what it's worth.
What he should have had, yeah.
Well, in the industry, like
okay.
I feel like it's
For what I was doing
per
day was in tens.
Gotcha.
Yeah, wherever the money's going, someone's getting it, right?
Of course.
It wasn't going to the guy doing the job.
Yeah.
In my opinion, right? And you could vouch for that, I would assume,
100%,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. It happened out of thin air.
Yeah, we had been working together for quite a while, and I think just the chemistry was there, personally, and like I said, I feel like you could tell, you could trust me, and I knew that I could trust you. And that's, I think, one of the most challenging things about partnering up with anybody in a business, in a relationship, or anything, is there's always that fear that you're giving this person the ability to hurt you somehow. And
it's a lot like marriage in that way. It's a lot like being married to somebody.
That's what I tell people all the time. Josh and I are married in business, And but yeah, for me with Josh, he just inspired me a lot, and just his hustle was insane. Like, I know I have maybe 3 or 4 people that I can talk about in my life that I grew up with, or that have achieved amazing things, and I can just see it in him.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah,
so
he doesn't stop. You can tell he just never stops moving.
no,
He's got those fingers rolling right
his
now.
His mind is just it's a machine, Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the fingers.
Jonathan's over here trying to be a comedian.
But yeah, for me, I just saw it. I told my brother even before him and I were in business together, like I know Josh and I are going to be in business together somehow.
That's cool.
You know, I've said that for a long time, and I'm not sure where it ever came from or why it ever was even a thought in my mind, because I've never said that about anybody else that I've ever met in existence. You know.
Woo! I'll tell you. So Brendan was taking the CR37 test, which is commercial residential with the ROC, and
Yeah.
so you do practice tests, you get prepared, you have to pass a certain amount of questions before you can take the real test. So he did it, right? And I got the notification. I'm out cruising jobs. He's at his job, and I get the notification that we passed.
We got our license.
We got our license, right? And I just happened to be in the same area. Well, it was out.
It was out by kind of by Verado.
Verado. So
Okay.
it's like
Yeah.
far from where
It's a
we.
303 in Northern.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
you're out there. Yeah,
I just
yeah.
happened to be like 3 minutes from his job site. So I show up, I pull up at the job site, and I tell him, and just like I remember, like he had a hard hat on, and that hard hat went flying. he was just so relieved that that his hard work
Paid off.
paid off. This opportunity starting, right? It was like a new beginning.
This is the moment. This is the real moment.
To becoming elite, right? Not a workhorse like
For somebody else.
yeah, right? Like here is the whatever.
It's like finding is like hitting the lottery or something, you know. Just
Totally.
to attempt
Back to the
something
Chinese
and
joke.
to be successful. Yeah. Cha-ching.
Cha-ching.
No, it was a beautiful thing, you know. Like how often into your life do you have those moments where you are just completely energized and just ecstatic and you know, and then to accomplish something with somebody and to be able to share it with someone. You know, a lot of business owners, it's a soul adventure.
Yeah,
You know, so to have somebody to share it with is even better.
totally. What do you think are the major successes in your guys? You guys have been together now 3 years. But you've known each other for a long time, right? I think a lot of partnerships kind of breed out that way. My experience with partners has been I've been really lucky too, like really good partners, and I've seen people have some real, well, just like marriages. You have some real great marriages, and you have some ones you're like, oh man, geez. But what would you say are your, like the way that 3 years down the road now you guys have grown, you guys are pushing yourselves, you guys are stepping out now in a much bigger way than you have. You've been growing this organically. Now you're going to be growing at a much harder pace. You're going after it in a much bigger way. You're trying to get a bigger field force. You're trying to turn into something that's a much bigger entity.
Yeah.
What is it that you feel, or what is it that you guys do that keeps the partnership healthy between the two of you? Because just like any partnership, there's going to be parts where like you grind on each other, you irritate each other, you're in a frustrating situation that has nothing to do with either one of you, but you're in it together, and you guys it's very easy to turn it on the other person. What is it that you walk into every day, or what is it that you feel keeps you guys healthy and communicating and working together towards the same goal still 3 years down the road?
Well, as Brendan said, it's just it comes natural, like the trust, the communication, right? I think one thing that we've learned to do is when we talk about something, the input that one another has, we listen, right? So like say if I'm dealing with a job where some damage happened, like we created a flood, right? We caused damage to the home from a repair. So we, immediately go back there, figure it out, and take full responsibility, right?
Take care of it, yeah.
And then, so I'm like stressed out.
Of course.
Right? And Brendan can, can talk to me about, seeing the positive of it, and that's what I like too, because instead of me just going home and punching drywall, I'm able to talk about it,
Process
and
it.
figure it out, you know, like and still keep the customer on our team, you know,
Yeah.
like so I
Yeah, there's no greater win than something going wrong and the customer being happy at the end anyway.
yeah
Because you did it right, you handled it right. And
Yeah.
that's a huge, to me. That's always been like a
Yeah.
that's like a real win.
I seen like a podcast. I can't remember what it was, like Jocko Willings or Willings or something like that.
Sure.
He was like a Navy SEAL,
Uh-huh.
and he's like, anytime my guys would ever call me and tell me that there was a problem, he's like, I would just say good, you know,
Yeah.
like beautiful.
You
This gives
mentioned that
yeah,
before.
this gives us an opportunity
It's
to grow.
it's not a problem. It's an opportunity.
This gives me,
Yeah.
you know, a chance to create a solution to something challenging. Like these are the things that we train for, you know, and
Totally.
and it's, you know, it's perspective. I think it's a lot of being humble, because it's easy to, especially with two men, for you to want your way, or, you know, men have that like masculine where it's hard
pride,
for them to
that pride
to
to it,
say
yeah.
your way is smarter than mine or my way is smarter than yours, but to just be passive and to be humble and to understand the end goal and to respect what we've already achieved, you know, and I think that helps us grow a lot. To not fight over small things, because we're not fighting a battle, we're fighting a war per se, you know, metaphorically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what hill do you want to die on? If it's the name on the side of the trucks, that's not a big deal. If it's somebody, you know, some just small stuff shouldn't make that big of a deal. And I think Josh and I are really good at taking those little things and just dissolving them into nothing and coming up with solutions,
I like that.
you know.
I like that a lot. So like if you were to shorten it, it's like let the important things be the important things, let everything else fade.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
because tomorrow there's going to be a new problem, and this will resolve.
Well, yeah, we also, I believe we also both take this opportunity as it's never ending, right? And so there's always room to improve.
Totally.
So like as he
And you're
mentioned,
open
like
to it.
his tattoo shop, like he had it at a young age, right? At a young age, he was a business owner, right? Come on. Like,
Huge.
Yeah, right? So
Huge.
as he matures, as we all do, now it's never ending. You know, like he's smarter. I'm smarter than I was when I was 20. Like it's just, and then if you really think about it, right, we can bring it back to God, right? So like this tie that we have together is like, I don't think I have anybody in my life that has had a tie to my life the way that Brendan has.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, people, locations, just all sorts of different weird things.
Designed. It was
Just
like designed for you guys
it's
to
so
be doing
strange.
this now.
Yep. Yep.
And then for me to have just like that weird gearing in myself to understand that you and I would come together in business, like I've never felt that with anybody else.
It's prophetic.
It was weird, but I never doubted it, and I just spoke it into existence
And kept going.
and then just worked towards it once it became an opportunity, on top of you doing the same thing, you know.
Love that.
It's unique.
It's cool. That's a cool thing. It's cool. All right.
Do you feel left out?
A little bit. Yeah.
So we
There we
need
go.
to-
There we go.
I'd put
Feel
all
better,
three
feel-
together. but
Yeah. Here we
morph
go.
into
Here we
like
go.
a
Here we go. Here we go.
Power Ranger or
Power
something.
Rangers.
Oh man.
I felt something.
My daughter will love that. She's so into Power Rangers right
Yeah.
now. She'll love that. It's really interesting. Partnerships are just so interesting, and it's so cool that you can say like years beforehand,
Yeah,
we're going to be in business together. I know it.
It's weird.
So it's a total God thing, and like seeing things. It's interesting to look back and go, dang, look at how much was just put into place for this to happen today. And it's cool that you guys have that perspective of that, and then the perspective of like, we're making money, we're doing business, we're growing, we're taking care of our families and ourselves, but also at the same time, you're like, it's a dual purpose of like walking out your calling is really cool. And God gave you guys hands that are very talented and brains that can read what you need to do, and you guys just do it as, like you said, it's your personal, you just know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like you said, Josh, like it just doesn't, you weren't even thinking about it, you're just doing your thing, you know.
Right,
That's really cool.
So taking a profession and being able to turn it into an opportunity to walk a path as well, you know, or carry on a mission with it is unique.
So
And to speak and reach to people, you know.
totally. So as we're kind of wrapping up here, the big thing I think at this point people have listened to this, or they're seeing they've seen the shorts and now they're seeing this part of it, is how do people engage with you guys? What's the best way for someone that needs something looked at? They see that you mentioned a water heater's leaking and they're like, mine's leaking.
Yeah.
Like what is the how do they connect with you? And then walk me through to take out any fear or any sort of like, so they understand before they even call you. What's the process that they typically go through when they give you guys a call?
Well, one thing that we take pride in is when the phone rings, we answer it, right? So like even right now, my phone's ringing.
I was
I'm
gonna
like,
say you're stressing out about it.
Don't
Yeah.
be Jill down the street with the leaky water heater. But even now, when I call a company that I want to schedule for my house, it's like, please press 2, and then you don't even like you're on hold and all that. We answer our phone, and I've come to find out that companies do that because all the scam calls is what I've heard. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Oh, they could go to an automated
So it
answering
eliminates
service.
the prompt dial companies that
Got it.
right, like whatever they're calling for. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
See if you're selling your house on Marconi Street.
yeah, right. So answering the phone, getting
Yeah.
a live person right away.
Yeah.
But just knowing that like we enjoy our job, right? We enjoy helping people. Okay, we do quality work, right? We explain the situation of what's going on and why it needs to happen the way that it does, right? We're not afraid to say, hey, this is incorrect. We need to change it, right? Like we would rather give you the option of changing it so you're aware of it, right? Like, hey, your main shutoff does not work, right? So
And that
here
becomes
it
a
is for
problem.
one, right? Like, do you know where it's at if it had a flood? Like, are you able to shut the water off? It's just like, it's just a service that we provide for people that need us, right?
No,
And
like you say, educate, inform, provide options.
Yep.
It's not a forced sale.
yeah,
It's an educative process where we're there to help you.
yep.
Well, it's something it's funny that it hasn't come up yet in this meeting, in this conversation, but I think it's so prevalent. I think it's something that you say a lot when if someone calls you, they're going to hear it. Is treat you like my mom,
Yep.
right? That's something I've heard you say multiple times. Is we treat you like we're going to our mom's house and doing the work. So
Well, that's because my mom spanked me with a wooden spoon growing up.
yeah, so fear.
So-
Got it. You walk with fear and trepidation into the house that you
Mom,
go to.
I
Got
love
it.
you.
Got it. What? So you guys, someone calls you, they have a issue, you walk them through it. You're gonna walk through all the options. What about like in a pricing, the money side of it? How do you guys handle that with them? What does that look like?
Well, that is basically we come out, take a look at what situation you have going on, and we assess the situation. Once we have a strong understanding of what we're dealing with, then we provide you options with pricing and make sure that it's going to work with you. And from that point, once we get the approval, then we start the repair. Generally, we do same day service and same day repair as long as it's not something extravagant, like a underground pipe replacement or something, which we would have to schedule out. But we tend to, even on jobs like that, take care of them ASAP because those are usually emergencies.
Well, like you said, like electrical and
Yeah.
water are two things you just
But
don't mess with. You just get
we're
it done.
diligent. We're upfront. We, we don't hide any cost or any fees. Everything that is going to come with the repair, about before we ever, make any kind of a move.
Yeah, so our pricing is structured in a book, right?
Okay.
So if we go to your house, it's going to be
Same
the
way.
same price if we go to the other Jonathan down in Chandler,
Gotcha.
So, like we don't come up with pricing on the fly, if you will, right? Like
You don't do a blind. You don't try to undercut. You don't try to do any of that kind of stuff.
No, like we want a customer. We want a repeat customer. We want to be your plumber for life. Like we don't want just the one job and then never hear from you again. We want to have your number in our system, so when you call, we're like, hey, what's up? Like how you doing? Not like never hear from you again. Like that's what we really enjoy that. Like a lot of our customers, like you know, like when I worked for my brother, I had personal customers that would call me on my work phone directly, right? And it was a handful of people, you know, like, but
They were your people, yeah.
yeah, now they're like all our people, you know, and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
call in. And so it's a much greater feeling, like to
It's-
have that.
It's
rapport.
cool to build those
Yeah,
relationships.
and they'll text us, you know, like and be like, hey, you know, like, sorry to bug you again, but have another leak, you know.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh yeah, sorry for bothering me and giving
Well,
me
you know,
business.
like-
Sorry.
Yeah.
well, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I hope you're not busy.
Yeah.
I hope you
well,
can
you have a good
make it today.
that just says that you have a good relationship.
You know,
that's awesome.
They're not like shopping around.
Even
Gotcha.
like
They
Dan,
know what we bring
yeah.
to the table, and they continue to use us, which is amazing, right? I like that so much. You
Makes
know,
sense.
like they know who we are. They don't care if Max or Brendan or Josh shows up, right? Because they
your
all know
family.
they're getting the
Yeah.
same service, right? Like the quality, the friendliness, you know.
Totally.
Like,
Totally.
yep.
All right. So as we're kind of wrapping up here, I guess my question is, if someone on the podcast is listening right now, is there anything that you guys have going on, or you're willing to offer to anyone listening, if they give you a call and say, hey, I saw you guys on the podcast, is there anything you guys have that you'd be willing to do for them?
Yeah, we do actually. You know, first off, thanks for listening or watching us. Right, this is our first podcast. It's a little unnerving, like right, like we've never done it before, but we're proud, we're happy that we're here today, and we just want to let everybody know that's listening that we are your plumber to call. Right, so we have a program where we can come out to your house. Check your water heater, check all your plumbing fixtures, just make sure everything's working correctly. With that, we can offer a 5% discount for the year on any repair, right? But we just want the opportunity to become your plumber. So if you've had a bad experience or you don't know who to call or never had a plumbing repair needed before, give us a try, give us a shot. Brendan, you got anything you want to add to that?
No, that's about it. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, we're hungry to do quality work for Phoenix, Arizona,
All right.
and
Well,
surrounding valleys, whatever, you know. But give us a call.
anything else that you guys want to add before we close up? Anything?
No, I'm good. I appreciate everybody taking the time to watch the podcast, and hopefully we'll see you on your next plumbing repair.
Well, everyone, thank you for joining us. Obviously, we're looking for the quality people for this podcast. That's the goal, is to reveal quality, Christian, solid businessmen. And you can see that these two guys really do care and really do take their craft very seriously. And they will take care of you. So I'm just going to say, give them a call. Get them out to your house just to make sure that everything's good, because you never want to have a leak. You never want to have a flood when you could have prevented it. So before we go, one more time, give them your phone number. I don't think we've said it. Give them your phone number and your websites.
This is my business partner, Brendan. I'm Josh. Our phone number is 602-299-8622. You can also visit our website at jpplumbingaz.com.
And we'll make sure that all that's in the description. So just go down below and you'll see it too. So thank you again for joining us. We'll see you on the next one.